Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. So far, we are only a few weeks into the season 3 of The War Within. And if you're like me, there's a good chance you've been working fairly diligently since the start of the season on your main character. And if you have, I wish you the best of luck in your great vault as of this reset. With that being said though, I am somebody who enjoys playing multiple alt characters. I just can't stick on one character for too long. And I definitely get that itch to play my alt, but I still need to spend a lot of my time gearing my main as best as possible. That being said, there are actually so many good ways to gear your alts very lightly. Getting a lot of gear with very little time investment where you can still focus in on your main for the most part. And so far I've been able to spend about roughly 30 minutes, maybe at most, on some of my alts, and they're already getting the tier pieces and actually some really strong competitive gear. So when I can spend more time on them, they should actually be fairly well geared and ready to jump into some of the more higher tier content for the season. And for today's video, I wanted to share with you guys all of my strategies on what I do with all of my alt characters to get the most amount of gear for the least amount of time spent. And with that, as always though, if you guys enjoyed regular guides such as these for the patch 11.2, be sure to follow the channel and subscribe. But otherwise, let's dive right in. Now, one of the easiest methods, I think, of gearing an alt character while not really spending a lot of time on that character is delves. And if you're someone who does a lot of high-end content, high-end Mythic Plus, high-end rating, you probably are not really doing that many delves, but a lot of people sleep on how good delves are. When it comes to gearing up a character through dungeons, you need score, you need item level, and a lot of your alts are not going to have those things whatsoever, so you need some serious time investment to start building up that keystone and building up that Mythic Plus score. And doing it on a fresh new character after you've done the grind on your main, unless you just have some really good achievements that you could toss up to the party, or if they're still running the Rare IO add-on from way back in the day, they're not really going to see the experience on your alt, so that in some cases feels like you're rebuilding a character all over again. However, while pugs won't sometimes take you into keys, Bran can say no when you take him to some delves. And delves, I feel like, have gotten easier this season, especially once you unlock the cloak upgrades with the ratio wraps, and you can unlock those ethereal portal skips. And I feel like those skip rooms generally are very straightforward, and in some cases they're faster and easier than whatever's leftover part you had to do with your delve storyline, which some stories for delves and quests are a little longer than others, some are more tedious, but I find all those ethereal portals a nice change of pace because they're usually pretty brisk. Go kill some bosses, kill some enemies, maybe dodge a couple of puzzles and slay dude at the end of the run. That's really about all you need to do with any of those rooms, and I feel like they just go by that much quicker, which makes delves and running delves, spam running them, a lot more varied and a lot less boring in a long haul. Plus, the delve room that we have in Tales of Ash is also really nice, just being able to go to these places immediately without having to fly. I mean, there's even more of a reason for you just to dive straight into delves on any of your alt characters. Champion track gear that you can farm from them is also really good. Getting keys is also really easy for the most part, and as the season goes on, we'll be able to even just buy keys from Murlgaton in the delve main area, so getting keys on your alts is going to be really easy. You also get hero track items from the maps that you can get from delves, either by summoning Kaiveza or by randomly looting a map within a delve, which you will get at least one guaranteed once a week if you do enough delves. And that's another hero track item for you to bolster that character's item level. And with how little time investment delves take, I mean, it's quite a decent bit of gear. Even if you go up to tier 11, as long as you can get the delve done somewhat quickly and somewhat safely without too much running back, they're generally pretty easy content for even a lower geared character to get into, especially as Bran gains additional levels and just straight up becomes more effective within those runs. On top of it, delves also have a champion track trinket vendor. If you're running a tier 9 or above delve, you can now purchase trinkets from that vendor. And he doesn't have all the trinkets. It looks like there's like a rotation every week. There's a different set of trinkets, but that vendor actually offers some decent items. Delve trinkets, out of all the delve items, are generally scaled pretty well. Like a lot of the delve gear is champion track and hero track, and that's not going to compete against like mythic track gear from dungeons or raids. But trinkets from delves, historically, Season 1 and Season 2 of War Within, they were really good. And if you can get them on hero track, some of them were fairly close and fairly competitive to some of the best raid trinkets from Undermine. In this season, it's not that different. Not every class is going to utilize him as a best in slot. Like Frost Death Knight, I looked at them. For them, those trinkets are not amazing. But for rogues and some of the other classes out there, they actually are solid. So if you do get them, and you could directly purchase those trinkets for a character, not only are they going to be an item of a slot that you get to fill out, but also a lot of them are generally fairly competitive enough to be worth a purchase. And that's a guaranteed item that you can pick up directly for your character. Plus, running all those delves allows you to fill out your Great Vault. Depending on the tier of delves that you do, you can fill it up with hero track gear, so it's potentially more tier set opportunities for any of your ults as you keep visiting the Great Vault. So once you get ready to actually start playing that character, you can either have a bunch of hero track items that you can catalyze into tier, or just directly tier upgrades from the Great Vault, which so far I've gotten very, very lucky on my ults. That's how I've been getting tier for them for the most part, while investing very little time into those characters, maybe 30 minutes a week at most, maybe an hour at maximum, if any. It's just a really, really easy way for you to get gear while having very little time investment on those characters. Another opportunity for you to get some early crafted gear, and this may be really good for any characters that don't have any loot whatsoever, is the Dementia story mode. Did you know that if you do the entire storyline on your main character, you also could just skip it and get to the end, where you could basically start the questline for the Dementia story mode, where it just throws you into the Dementia's fight with a bunch of NPC followers that act like a raid, that will do boss mechanics, which is really weird but kind of cool, and it's a really easy fight. It's simplified to the most degree, and it allows you to get some crests, it allows you to get some Valor Stones, and especially gives you that embellishment in order to be able to craft some gear with a, or not embellishment, but an enchanted crest in order to be able to craft at least a 407 animal piece on that alt character. Which it's probably not going to be your weapon, it's probably not going to go into any of the other items you're looking to craft that are tier specific, but it can potentially be a really solid bracer with an embellishment, or potentially a ring, or potentially any of the other slots of gear that a fresh new character that has 0 gear can get early on. And it's definitely worth doing because the time commitment that it takes to get that whole story mode done is very, very little. The world boss is something you should at least do on your main character, because the gear he can drop is champion track, and the world boss gear is kind of random. Like on my rogue, I've done them a couple of times and I've gotten a number of pieces that are not leather. That's the unfortunate part about the world bosses and how they've done them since Undermine. It can be any random item that you can obtain from the boss's roster. Sometimes it'll be an item that your rogue can use, and other times it'll be an item that maybe an ult can use. But if anything, it's a guaranteed warbound item once a week that one of your ults could use. So far I've gotten plate belt, which is unfortunate because of the disc belt that everybody runs. I've gotten the helm so far, but maybe my warrior or potentially my paladin is likely going to be the character that I'm going to equip those items whenever I start playing my paladin a little bit more throughout the season. So getting those items stocked up right now at least once a week, which you can do on your main, can eventually become gear that an ult potentially might be able to wear in the future. Another piece of content that's definitely worth doing on your ults whenever it's available is the time walking dungeons. Whenever the time walking event is active, that's an opportunity for your ult, especially if the time walking raid is available during that season or during that event, is to do them on as many ults as possible. Next week is going to, or not next, specifically next week. No, next week actually. No, I stand corrected. Next week is going to be Cataclysm Time Walking, which means not only are you going to be able to get a normal piece of gear from that box for time walking, but also Cataclysm Firelands raid is going to be made available as well. And that has champion track gear for every single one of the boss in there, as well as a hero track item for defeating the final boss and completing the quest in that time walking raid. So whenever TBC, Wrath, and Cataclysm time walking in particular are up, you definitely should be busting all of your ults out for it, since you don't necessarily need high-end gear in order to do a time walking raid, as all the characters are going to scale anyway. But the gear you can get from there is potentially really, really good. A lot of those raids generally go by very, very quickly, as a lot of the bosses are pretty easy. Maybe Ragnaros, because you do have to do this like little shuffle when you drops the hammer and orb spawn and you gotta run away. Some pug groups seem to have trouble with that, but for the most part, every single week, it is definitely worth doing time walking whenever it is available. As I think out of all the forms of raiding that we have in War Within, time walking raids for TBC, Wrath, as well as Cataclysm, all of those are really, really easy and honestly free gear at the end of the day. Now, if you're someone who's a fan of PvP for the season and you're looking to catch up on Honor, Bloody Tokens, and Conquest on any of your alts, you could dive into casual PvP, but without any gear, there's a good chance you're just gonna get ran over by everybody else. And grinding through rated PvP content, I feel like even with some of the scaling that's added, can definitely result in a bit of a disaster. And waiting for a Calmstown brawl is not always ideal, but you could always take the matters into your own hands, and instead of PvPing, you could just go exploring the open world, hunting for crates, as they are always, every single day, I see groups for crate farming for PvP. All you need is an add-on, or at least somebody to run the add-on, in order to get the timers for where crates spawn in, and then fly from zone to zone collecting PvP crates as a massive raid, looting all of that currency whenever you need it. An opportunity for you to earn a bunch of honor, conquest if you were looking to cap out, as well as those bloody tokens. So that's an opportunity for you to get a bunch of PvP gear just from this piece of content alone. And it's really easy to cap since you're running as a full raid. As Alliance or Horde, there's a good chance there's not going to be a lot of opposition just because you have raw sheer numbers in a lot of the cases. And being able to fly from zone to zone as these crates spawn, which is actually pretty crazy fast if you are keeping up with all of their timers, it is just a lot of easy honor, conquest, and tokens that you can cap out on for that character. Just fly around, very little PvP involved, very little opportunity for you just to die and get caught in a bad environment. Just roaming around and collecting as many points as you need to make sure those characters have a bit of PvP currencies whenever you do start playing them seriously for the PvP season. But with that, as always, I want to thank all of you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you did enjoy it or found it informative, go ahead and give the video a like, as I would very much appreciate it. Helps videos reach a wider audience. Also, be sure to join our Discord community, link in the description of every single video, especially if you just want to keep up with anything within the patch 11.2, 11.2.5 content update. Wow, midnight if we get any major updates, potentially midnight alpha, which I hear should be available sometime soon, like relatively soon. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and as always, I'll see all of you guys in the next one.